we're going to be covering the different tooling that Bartell Global provides to be used underneath our concrete grinding, polishing machines. We're going to be talking about our traditional metal bond tooling, referred to as the slide mag tooling. And we're also going to be talking about our specialty tooling. And also, we're going to be covering our iShine Evolution tooling. You know, we use the term evolution purposefully, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're a contractor that's been polishing concrete for 5 or 10 years, is it not true that the diamonds that you use today are not the diamonds for sure that you used 10 years ago, and probably not even the diamonds that you used 5 years ago? The reason is because diamond technology has really improved over the years. It's evolved into better and better tooling for sure. And it's important for all of us manufacturers, it's important for distributors, and really important for contractors to stay on that leading edge, understanding that diamond technology and being able to use it to their advantage. And Bartell Global is proud of the fact that that's exactly what we do. We exist on that leading edge of technology. And there's another area where we have stepped forward and that we're very, very proud of, and that's this. Almost all concrete grinders and polisher equipment manufacturers, none of them manufacture their own tooling, their own diamonds. They buy them from a third party, they pass them through to their end users, to their contractors. And that has worked. That's worked acceptably for many years. Bartell Global, that's what we did for many years as well. But you know, we found a better way of doing it. And that better way is this, it's that we are now the manufacturer of the diamonds. And that's really a critically important point, and I'll tell you why. One good reason is because now our engineers that are manufacturing that tooling can cooperate with our engineers that are manufacturing our equipment, and now we have tools that are designed to work specifically underneath our equipment. It's really a nice step forward. It makes for, I want to use the word turnkey. It's not really a turnkey system because everyone knows that polishes concrete that there's no real absolute turnkey system. Nothing works perfectly every time when you do it the same. You have to adjust the system. And that's true with this system, but it's a much more simplified system. It's much easier to understand the system, and then you're able to adjust that system to your specific needs on different concrete floors that you're working on. So we're going to take a few minutes. I want to talk about each different type of tooling individually and how it's worked. Everything from epoxy removal tooling and then concrete profiling tooling with our metal bond segments, and then our hybrid tooling as we're doing the polishing process, the honing stage of concrete polishing, and then we're going to talk about that actual resin bond tooling that we use to polish concrete. So let's take a few minutes and let's talk first of all about that specialty tooling. All right, so the first type of tooling that we're going to talk about is our specialty tooling. When I think of specialty tooling, I'm thinking of tooling that goes under a diamond grinder, but is not actually diamond tooling. First one is a really neat little tool. It's our carbide scrape away tooling. What this is nicely used for is removal of different mastics, and mostly mastics, but other materials as well. Say, for instance, you're going to polish a floor. There's VCT down now. You pull the VCT up, and you've got that thin spread left over, the mastic that holds it down. It's as sticky the day you pull it up as the day you installed it. And if you jump on that with just a regular diamond tooling, what happens is that mastic acts like a lubricant, and you may get it done eventually, but it takes a long time. It's much faster if you're able to get most of that mastic off with tooling like this. And so what this does is it goes on, it's directional, you must have it go in the correct direction underneath your machine, and it actually scrapes 90% of that glue off of the surface of the concrete, allowing you to grind afterwards. When I was working with this type of tooling, is I would go down to the hardware store, and I'd buy that box of that gypsum material, the wall patching material that guys mix it up, but leave it dry and just sprinkle it out over the floor dry. And so then when you go ahead and start running this, it retards the stickiness, and it makes it so that mastic kind of balls up and it's easier to get off the floor. Works really nice. Cool thing about this as well is it's got replaceable heads. That little square silver box is the carbide tip itself. And when you have finally dulled that, by the way, carbide is extremely hard. And tungsten carbide, which we're going to be talking about in a minute, is on the Mohs scale, it's 9 to 9.5. The only thing really that's harder is a diamond. So these are really hard tooling. And so it's basically you would go ahead and run this, scrape it, it would finally dull on you, but you have 4 other surfaces on that side. So you take the bolt off, you switch it over, now you're going with a whole nother surface. You do that 4 times, now you take that part, you flip it over, you got 4 more times. And so it lasts, it's really hard, lasts, every surface will last quite a while, but you've got 8 surfaces to wear out before you're done. It's a really nice way of getting that the mastic off of the floor without actually cutting the concrete at all. Another type of tooling that's really cool, and once you learn to use it, it can really be a valuable tooling, and that is our bush hammer tooling. And these are tungsten carbide tips on there. And again, they're extremely hard, much harder than steel, and a lot harder than concrete. And what's really neat about this type of tooling is, if you think about it, if you look at concrete and if you were to, in a microscope, look at it, you would see mountains and valleys, right? There's hills and valleys, and when you're running the traditional diamond segments on top, what are you cutting? You're cutting the mountains away. You're not doing anything to the valleys. With this, these little tips reach into those valleys and clean them out as well. And so you're getting a much cleaner, you got to vacuum the floor afterwards, always, but you're getting a much cleaner surface. You're not mashing any of those grindings into that surface. And the really nice thing about this as well is if you've ever seen a shot blasted floor, you know, the profile that shot blasted floor has, this gives you a really close resemblance to a shot blasted floor. And the nice thing though about these segments is if you got into a shot blasted floor, you see the cornrows, right? You can see exactly where they went. And if you're putting down like a thin mill epoxy afterwards, that can telegraph through and you can see it. But if you're profiling with this type of material, it doesn't leave those cornrows, and it leaves you a much more monolithic surface to go over. So really a nice tool once you learn how to use it. I want to take a minute and talk about a really neat diamond that it's basically a metal bond diamond, but we kind of categorize it as a kind of a specialty diamond, and I'll tell you why. Because on some concrete slabs, they just find it extremely difficult to begin the process, to actually cut the surface of that concrete, to break through the cap and get into the concrete and be able to start working on it. I live here in the Northwest in the Puget Sound area of Washington State. We have the hardest concrete in the United States, and it gets really even probably worse when you get up into Canada, up into BC and in that area. They have a really, really difficult time cutting the surface of the concrete so that they could begin. And so we specifically designed these diamonds to do that. They're what we refer to as a cap cutter. They're basically a 40 grit diamond, but the design is extremely aggressive and makes it possible to be able to cut those really difficult surfaces to begin the process. So keep those in mind, cap cutters. Okay, so we're going to take a minute and cover our polycrystalline diamonds, often referred to as PCD diamonds. They are very aggressive man-made diamonds used to remove really, really difficult flooring, like high build epoxies, maybe 40 mils, that have broadcasts of Fleck and quartz in them, mortar, epoxy membranes, water membranes, parking decks, those types of really hard to remove surfaces. A polycrystalline diamond does a really nice job. We've got a few different types. We've got the one you see here. These are half round segments along with the arrows. And basically these segments dig into the surface, and then the arrows have that kind of keeps it from digging in too aggressively, and has some diamonds in them as well. And so it digs in and then cleans the surface. A diamond like this is really good for a very heavy machine, a big machine. If you have a little bit of a lighter machine, you might want to go to a diamond, let's see, like this one here. This one has a double quarter round segments, and then it's got a wear bar, 40 grit wear bar along the back. So these segments dig in, not as aggressively as this, maybe 20, 30 mils or less. This diamond would work very, very nice for. It would dig in again, and then the bar would then smooth the concrete out as you're running. And you'll notice that these are all directional. So it's really important that you run the machine the correct direction when you're using PCD diamonds. It was also true when we were talking about our carbide scrape away head. These are directional as well. I want to keep that in mind. A PCD that is not directional is our crushed PCD. These are, again, they're an aggressive diamond, but not nearly as aggressive as the quarter rounds and the half round PCDs. These are good for light build, small build epoxies, painted floors. You're trying to just clean the surface of the concrete. This type of diamond works very, very well for that. But again, any of these polycrystalline diamonds, if you're going to be polishing afterwards, it's really best if you can get away with. Sometimes you can't get away with it. You just got to use them because that's the only thing that will get the material off the floor. But if possible, you don't want to start with this. Next step, let's get into our slide mag metal bond diamonds. So the next set of diamonds that we want to talk about are Bartell Global's line of slide mag metal bond diamonds. When you first take a look at them, you see right off the bat that they don't look like other typical metal bond diamonds. Our diamonds have what's referred to as a modified polygon design. So they look a little bit different. What you're probably used to is a diamond that looks like that, either a single or a double bar, or you would have a diamond that looks like this, either a single or a double round. And in times past, you would have to choose between which one you thought would be most appropriate for your floor. But now our engineers have taken the design and made a hybrid of both of those in the modified polygon design and made for a really nice, easy to understand diamond that takes away a lot of the necessity to choose between either rounds or single bars. You'll notice that we all come in a double bar like you see here. You can also get it in the single bar. So a double bar would be for a machine, a bigger machine, because you spread the weight of the machine out a little bit and makes for a nice aggressive grinding segment on a bigger machine. Typically you would use a single bar on our smaller machines, like our single head, our 9-inch grinders or 11-inch grinders, and maybe our smallest planetary grinders on certain types of concrete. A single bar would work effectively for. We manufacture in 4 different grits. We have a 16, a 25, a 40, and then an 80 grit metal bond to choose from. And we also have 3 different matrices or bonds, the soft, medium, and hard bond. And you'll notice that they're easily identified by different colors. We've got purple, orange, and then we've also got green. And if you can look on the side of each one of the boxes they come in, it explains it really nicely. So the purple is going to be for soft concrete. That means that diamond is going to be a hard bond diamond because it's designed for soft, maybe medium concrete. And then the orange is medium to medium hard concrete, and you know that that's going to be a medium bond diamond. And then the green is for hard to very hard concrete, and so we know that basically that green diamond is going to have a soft matrix. It's going to have a soft material that exposes more diamond to be able to cut those more difficult slabs. Those are the different types of diamonds that we have. By the way, each one of these boxes, inside of them will be a little chart that you can look at and be able to map out the diamond that most likely will work most effectively for your floor. I'll show you how easily they are to mount. All of our segments, whether it is our specialty tooling, our PCD diamonds, or our metal bond diamonds, easily mount on all of our machines. And it's what we refer to again as our slide mag system, that you simply put them in the middle like that, and then slide them to the outside like that, and then they lock into place. When you're done, I usually like, by the way, I like to smack it with a hammer to seat it so it doesn't want to kick off when you're running it. And then when you're done, you just slide it forward. Usually you got to take a hammer and smack it to drive them forward, and they come right back off. So it's a really nice, easy system to be able to mount on the bottoms of our machines. So that's basically our metal bond slide mag system from Bartell Global. The next set of diamonds that we want to talk about are the diamonds that we use in the actual honing part of polishing concrete. At the beginning, we're grinding, we're opening up the surface of the concrete. The concrete is now very porous, accepts water and accepts stains very easily. And so we want to start closing that surface up. And we do that with our iShine Evolution hybrid diamonds. These diamonds are used either wet, we have a line of wet, or a line of dry pads that you would use. And these are 50s, 100s, 200s, and 400s. And so these are the pads that you would use to start tightening up that surface and closing that surface up, processing the surface, getting it ready for our iShine Evolution actual polishing pads like the one we see here. They are 800, 1500 grit, and then 3000 grit. These happen to be the green 3000. And so what does the customer want? Do they want a matte finish, or do they want a highly reflective finish, or somewhere in between? And so a series of these diamonds, you will just stop at the point where you give the customer what it is they want. I wanted to show you how easy it is to mount both our hybrid resin pads and our polishing pads to our machines. Basically, on our bigger machines, we'll have pads where the Velcro just simply sticks right onto the pads. Or on some of our machines, we'll have a head that looks like that, and then we'll have mounting adapter brackets that look like that. And they would simply slide in onto the machine just like our Metal Bond diamonds did. They go in, they slide out into place like that, and then with the Velcro, you simply just mount in place, and they're ready to go. You do that 3 times, and the head's ready to go. Take it off, you do the same thing, just pop them off like that, and then just go ahead and hit them forward, and they come off. So that is basically our diamond selection that Bartell Global provides. It's not a turnkey. You don't use every one the same every time, but it's a really simplified base to start from. And I encourage you to, if you have questions, go to bartellglobal.com. We have wrote a number of articles on these different types of diamonds, on different types of floors, and the situations you run into, and maybe suggest some suggestions on how to deal with those kinds of things. So I encourage you to go to bartellglobal.com and do that. And encourage you also to try the Bartell Global's line of concrete diamond polishing and grinding pads.